Welcome to another edition of the Posecast. This week, we'll be joined by a special three-time champion as well as our host. However, before we get started with that, got to remind everybody to please download the app, basketballnews.com, as well as download, subscribe, like, and listen to our podcast on all your favorite platforms. Now that that's out the way, we're going to go ahead and get it started. We have a three-time champion with the Toronto Raptors, Cleveland Cavaliers, and also my favorite team, Los Angeles Lakers. He is one of the best player development coaches of all time, and he's taking a pleasure to join us today. Welcome to the show, Phil Handy. Phil, how's everything going?
Man, all is well. You know, it's extreme blessing to be on this show with you cats, especially my man Pose. Man, we go way back. So now, man, all is good, man. Just
good,
you know.
Man. I appreciate it, man. I know you busy and all, so I appreciate you taking the time out to join us. But I had to get my man on, so I appreciate
that's all love, Pose. I appreciate that, man. I appreciate the invite to be a part of that Posecast.
All right. So, hey, right off the rip, I just want to know, where did your love of the game of basketball start?
Man, Pete, that was it started early. I got five older brothers, and I'm the youngest of six. So my brothers, man, they all played basketball when I was growing up. And so I can remember back to about age 5 or 6 where I really wanted to be like them. And so they would take me to the playground every now and again. And that's all I wanted to do was emulate what they were doing. And, as I grew, basketball just kind of really that was it for me. I didn't want to do anything else. All I wanted to do was play basketball.
So you grew up in the Bay, you know what I'm saying? So you hear about all these hoopers in the Bay, you know what I'm saying? You hear the J Kids, you hear the GPs, you hear Dame now. You also hear, you had the JR Riders. How was that influence you growing up, you know what I'm saying, playing the game? And did you ever, come across, the younger, now of course it's probably not Dame, but more so those guys like the GP and the J Kids, you know what I'm saying, back, growing up in the Bay?
Yeah, that was like in high school. I mean, J Kidd was obviously a couple years younger than me, but he was like, J Kidd was the man. He was one of the best. He was one of the best high school players in the country. B. Shaw, Gary Payton, Greg Foster, all these dudes, man, they were before my time. But when I was a kid, even though they were from the Bay, when I was a kid, I was a 76ers fan, which is kind of, crazy. I was born and raised in Oakland, but I grew up watching basketball on Sundays. Well, all I wanted to see was Dr. J. That was who I wanted to watch. Man, turn the TV on 6 o'clock in the morning, whatever. Dr. J on the tube. So that's who I really grew up watching. Dr. J. And then I had the opportunity to watch that whole run TMC with Chris Mullin, Mitch Richmond, and Tim Hardaway. That was when I really started falling in love with the game, watching them dudes in the Bay, man.
Now, Phil, how do you go from being in the Bay Area to going to college in Hawaii? How did that all come about?
Man, that's a crazy ass story, man. I was actually meant to go to Cal Berkeley and play next to J Kidd and Lamont Murray and some of the other guys there. And it was crazy. I went to junior college for a year, and one of my good friends in junior college, he didn't have a scholarship, and Hawaii was recruiting me. So back then, everybody want to take their trip. Forget. I'm just gonna take my. Hey, listen. Yeah, man. I was like, shoot, man, I'm trying to take this trip to Hawaii, and I went on the trip. I had no thoughts in my mind I was going to sign with Hawaii, but my boy, he was playing junior college with me at a school like 10 minutes from mine. He didn't have a scholarship, so I thought I was being slick. I wanted to throw Hawaii off my tail and say, hey, if you guys sign my boy, I'll come. And so Hawaii back then was like, listen, if you don't commit to us, you can't take the visit. So my way out of committing was to take the visit and then be like, hey, y'all want me to come? You sign my boy, I'm coming. I thought they was gonna be like, nah, Phil, we're not gonna do that. Man, they asked me to send some video of my boy. He sent the video. They signed him first. That's how bad they
Who?
want.
Hey, what's his name? What's his name?
Wow.
What's his
My boy,
name?
no, don't get me wrong. He can hoop. Don't get me wrong. He can hoop. His name is Wendell Owens. Boy, was nice point guard, but I didn't think they were gonna sign him. Right? It was just I didn't know what their recruiting picture looked like,
Right.
bruh. They signed that man, and I had every intention of going to Cal Berkeley. So they signed him, and I was like, nah. I was like, I'm not going. My father, being the man that he was, love Pops, rest in peace, old school. When he got wind of it, the coach called him and was like, his son's not returning our calls. He promised he would sign here. My dad made me go. He was like, you gave them people your word, you're going to sign that scholarship. And that was probably all fun and jokes. That was one of the biggest lessons I ever learned in my life in terms of what he made me do. He made me man up and keep my word. I was pissed, but that was a huge lesson for me, man. And that's how I ended up going to Hawaii.
Now, what was the culture shock like? You go from the Bay to going to Hawaii. Like, what's that looking like? Because that's two totally different places.
I mean, at that point, by that time, I grew up in Oakland, right? And my parents moved me out of Oakland when I was 13. So we moved out to the suburbs, this area called Union City, which ended up being predominantly Filipino community. So I moved from Oakland, where it was nothing but blacks and Mexicans, out to Union City, which was Filipinos, some white families. It was more diverse. So by the time I got to Hawaii, man, I was good. Being on the island, that little people have island fever, but for me, I just like the warm weather. So I was right at home on that island, man.
So you go to Hawaii, you do your thing, you leave that school. Now your journey, as far as get to where you're at right now, I'm saying the NBA, lengthy career here as as an assistant coach and also as a player development coach. But your journey wasn't, just a smooth transition. Tell us about your journey and how you got it to this level.
Yeah, Pose. Not all of us was, was high flyer at Xavier, big time draft pick, all that, what I'm saying? Pete, man, my journey was, I left school early thinking that I was going to get drafted, which was the biggest mistake, probably one of the biggest mistakes of my life in hindsight. And the year I left school, there was an NBA lockout. So I had no opportunities. I had no opportunities to get in any NBA workouts, and the lockout ended. And I was just like, man, I don't know what I'm gonna do. Am I even good enough to even play in the NBA? That was like the question for me. So the lockout ended, and the Warriors had what they had. They had like a little free agent camp, and they invited like 20 local guys to come to this camp to where they can kind of fill out their roster for training camp. You know what that's like, Pete. Just as a coach, you know what it's like when guys are getting the opportunity. So they picked 2 players from that camp. I went in there and was like, yo, I'm just going to go in here. I'm going to lay it down. I'm going to be the hardest working dude in the gym. And I was one of the 2 guys they selected. It was me and John Barry. They selected us to come to training camp. And I went to training camp and did my thing there. And I was able to become part of that roster for a short period of time. I had a very, very small career in the NBA. I played with the Warriors for a little bit. I played with the Portland Trail Blazers for a little bit. And then I went to Europe. I left and went to Europe for 8 years and spent most of my time in Europe and Australia and Israel, Italy, France, Germany, England. I was all over the place. And I retired, and I had no thoughts and ideas of becoming a coach. That was not what I was thinking about. But I did want to get into the training business and train athletes and help athletes become, just better players. But even when I started that was back in, I kind of started doing a little bit of it in 99, but I really started the business in 2003 when I retired. And man, I couldn't have envisioned that 13-year period of me running that business leading up to me being an NBA coach. I couldn't have envisioned it ended up where it is now, P. It's crazy that the journey that it's taken me on.
Right. So playing over there, like, I mean, you were very successful over there as well, as a player. And of course you had, the opportunity to play for your home team and also, play in Portland as well. You know what I'm saying? So was that a downer for you? Was it always to give back, or for the most part, you took advantage of the opportunity? And like I tell people, I said, they pay over there as well. You can save your money, you can get money as well.
Right.
And so you was like almost like, like for the NBA, I'm cool over here. That was your lane. Granted, the NBA is always the big show. How was that mindset for you over there, and what got you through it?
Man, it was tough at first, Bose, because after the first time I got cut, when the Warriors waived me through part of the season. I mean, we go through high school. You're usually the best player on your team, whatever you go to college. I had never had an experience of being cut or waived. So for me, even though I wasn't drafted, that was like I went through like a 2-week phase of depression. It's like I didn't know what, because I didn't really know anything outside of the NBA. Like, man, I started the season with the Warriors, and you think when you make the team, that's it. But a lot of people don't understand. You made the team, but the hardest thing is to stay in the league.
Right.
For fringe guys, that's really hard. If you're not a lottery pick, if you're not one of those guys, you might make it, but the hard thing is to stay in. And so the Warriors waived me, and so I went to the CBA. I went down to Omaha and I played in the CBA, and it took me about a week to wake up and realize that, man, there's some hungry dudes in the CBA, and it's not, these dudes down here trying to hoop. They trying to make money and make career just like you are. And I think the CBA was one of the best things that happened for me. It prepared me for Europe. And I remember when I decided to go to Europe, the first country I played in was France. I wasn't really prepared to live in another country. I had never lived outside the United States. And I wasn't really, like you said, Pose, the money that they make over there is really good money. The level of basketball in Europe is a really high level. And, I was on this thing at first, like, man, I should be in the NBA. I was mad and pissed and mad at the world, and it almost messed me up because I was so focused on being in the NBA that I couldn't really see what was in front of me. And when I got to France, luckily enough, I had a couple of veteran guys that had played in Europe for many years, and they were like, young fella, we've been over here for 15 years. We make good money. Our families are taken care of, and man, you can make a great career over here. And when I got to Europe and I really saw the level of basketball, and then I saw how much money, that you can make in terms of, hey, man, the NBA is not everything. I actually made more money in Europe than I did in the NBA. As being a guy that's on the bubble, man, Europe was the best thing that happened to me. Once I got my mind to it, it cultured me. It taught me a lot about different cultures, about different people. It also helped me understand just how fortunate we are living in the States with a lot of the things that we have at our fingertips back then. So that was a great learning experience for me, just in general.
Now, Phil, is there any crazy stories? I mean, you're in Europe for a long time. We always hear about way different stories where the people don't get paid right, minutes get funny, fights. You got to have calling cards. Again, any crazy Euro stories you can share with us?
Man, they're all them stories are real. Like I will say this: I was very blessed. My agent did a really good job because you hear all these horror stories about people that go to Europe, they play, and they don't get paid, right? Brother cats don't get paid for 2 months, 3 months, and you just over there playing for free. I never had a situation like that when I was in Europe. I was blessed to be in some really strong situations. But like I remember my first team, when you're coming in as an American, people we don't really suppose you can speak to this. As an American player in the NBA, when guys from Europe came over, right, there was always like this thing like,
yep.
Oh, man, who is this? Who is
yep.
man? We about to so coming to the NBA, guys from Europe that come to the NBA, they get treated different. And a lot of times when you're an American player and you go to another country, it's the same thing, right? Talent level may not be the same, but I remember when I first got to France, I came in and, there was a local kid who had been starting on this team, for a couple of years. And here I'm coming in to take his position. And they instantly put me in the starting lineup. And so, man, I just remember this dude used to foul me every day in practice. Like he used to try to fuck me up, Paul, in practice. So one day I was like,
fouls. Come on,
yo, yeah, all right. Well, I was like, all right, nigga, I'm gonna show y'all. Okay, keep fouling me like that. I broke that man's nose in practice one day.
Damn.
Just and, it wasn't the right thing to do. I was so mad, but he was fucking me up, dog. Like in practice,
Right.
and the coach wasn't calling no fouls. Nah, play on. But the craziest thing I remember, the fans. The fans in Europe, the fans in Europe don't play. They are the most loyal fans to their city, to their team. Man, I remember going on the road in Belgium. People were throwing coins at us. They would spit at us.
Damn.
I remember playing in Jerusalem. In Jerusalem, they're letting off smoke bombs in the middle of the game. I mean, I'm talking about smoke bomb, like real smoke bombs. I remember going in at halftime. One of my teammates would sit in his chair, he'd cross his legs and spark up a cigarette while the coach is talking at halftime. Hey, yo,
come on, man.
Hey, bro, I kid you not, Pose. Spark up a cigarette at halftime. We in the locker room, and I'm looking around like, what we doing? What's going on? But even in that, you can go into certain arenas, and because smoking, people in Europe, people smoke. You can go into certain arenas and look up to the top of the arena, and it's nothing but a bowl of smoke. Like everybody in the arena smoking. It's just, you're like, bro, what are we doing here, man?
Man, that ain't safe, man. They don't care about your Come on, man.
Hey, man, Europe, look, people think, I go on the year, I'm good, man. People think it's a piece of cake. Man, it's tough playing over there. Different environment, different language, different food, and then, travel. They don't travel like now. If you get on like a high level EuroLeague team, they charter planes and all that stuff. But man, it was a learning experience, man. It definitely tested your mentals for real.
Now, also, you played in the CBA as well. You also have experience with coaching G League and seeing those guys come up. What's the difference? Because a lot of our listeners don't really know about the CBA. What's the difference between the two, if there's a difference?
Yeah, I'm gonna hurt some of these young fellas' feelings a little bit. Man, the CBA was a thug league for real. I'm talking about, and when I say thug league, I mean it was tough. It was a tough ass league in the sense that I was 23. I'm going down there. These are grown men playing in the CBA. These dudes got families. These dudes are like in their 30s. They're still trying to hang on to their basketball careers, but they can play. And then there's NBA guys like the Mario Ellies, the Vincent Askews. Oh, you know who those dudes are? Them type of dudes of the world that played in the CBA for a long time. It was a tough league, and it wasn't a direct affiliation to the NBA, even though it was. It's not like the G League, where the NBA teams, the farm system. The CBA was independently owned by different owners, and we were in these small towns. I was in Omaha, Nebraska. I was in Madison, Wisconsin. It was tough conditions. You traveling on buses, just like the G League travel is not great, but the league, man, it was tough. It was some tough players. It was a lot of NBA players that were playing the CBA, and it's very similar to the G League. But I just think the style of basketball and the brand of basketball back then was different. It was totally different than what it is now.
So towards the tail end of your playing days, did you you sort of said earlier you sort of knew you want to get on the player development side or whatever. So I seen a little footage of you. We've been playing, pick up, said in Cleveland and things like that. What I'm saying? We've been in Chicago playing in they
150, the infamous 150 rep. Pose. I had never done the 151. Pose put me on, man. That was one of the best runs I've ever had.
And you left with the nickname too. That's crazy. Uncle Drew. So what I'm saying? Like doing that. So, I mean, crazy handles, and you still got crazy handles now. Your jump shot, and you had hops too. So how did that all, like you put that together and like, I can help, the next person, the next young man develop those skills. Like, how did that actually go? Like, everybody, your time's gonna come when basketball stops. So did you start transitioning in, like, okay, this is what I'm doing, and you start perfecting your craft after basketball?
You know what, P? I think it started for me towards the end of my career. right? As a young player, man, I was one of them dudes that just thought I could just dunk on everybody or try to dunk everything, flying through.
Right.
I was reckless. And so, I got to the point at the end of my career where I didn't really have any injuries, but as we get older, our bodies start telling us different things. You slow down.
Mm-hmm.
And so what I learned was, even at the end of my career, I still was pretty quick, but obviously I wasn't as quick as I was a few years ago. So how do I continue to be efficient and effective?
Mm-hmm.
So even myself, I always watch Grant Hill. I always watch MJ. I watch guys like Walter Davis, and people don't really even know who that is. I used to watch these dudes, man, and I wanted to emulate large parts of their game to be as complete a player as I could be. So as I got older, I really started focusing on my shooting, right? And understanding that I'm not gonna always be able to get to the rim. I got to get better with shooting threes and getting better shooting the ball off the dribble and pull up. So I spent a lot of time. I had to get better, learn how to post up. I want to post up smaller guards as a point guard. So the later part of my career, I really started working on those things my own just by watching guys and emulating what MJ was doing or emulating what Grant Hill was doing. And then when I got into the development side of things, Pose, as players, sometimes we get put in boxes, right? A coach might say, "Hey, this is what you do, and you don't do anything else." And I've always been the type of coach where, man, you want to help your players get, improve their game in totality. Now, not every player can do everything, but you always want to help players try to improve on their skill set as much as possible. And that was my mindset going into the player development business. I wanted to help players become complete, or as complete as they possibly could as a player, to work on all the different areas of the game. And because that's how I tried to play. I tried to play both sides of the ball, just like UP, and understand that being able to be a good defender is one thing, but being able to be a complete offensive player as much as possible is another thing, from the footwork to the ball handling to the shooting, and not just relying on your athletic ability.
Right. So, I get to Cleveland. You already been in the league for a minute, and I get to Cleveland and you there as well. And
hey,
so
hold up! Before he say that, Pose tried to give me the cold shoulder too. I'm gonna throw him under the bus real.
Hey, come on.
I'm gonna throw Pose under the bus real quick, man.
Listen, you can't mess with everybody. So listen, you already went in. I thought you was probably setting me up. You know what I'm saying? I
Pose thought I was the government. I saw Pose we saw. I said, Pose, man, you with the crew now. We was in Vegas. I said, man, let's get to dinner, man. Let's go out tonight. Pose looked at me. Yeah, all right. Hey, I didn't care for Pose. Pose.
I couldn't afford to do it, Philly. I couldn't afford to do it, man. Come on. They'd have cut me my first summer league, man. Shit.
I had to be like, P, man, we good money, dog. We good. We good over here. We good on this side, bro. But anyway, Go ahead, P.
Yeah, you took me under your wing, but I had to fill that out first, man. Hey, you hear the story. That's the setup right there. You want to kick it, party, do everything. Next thing you know, you ain't got no job. So shit. I'm like, nah, I don't know. I don't feel okay, Phil. Shit.
Oh, that's hilarious.
All the way messed up. Nah, let me get my feet wet. Let me see what's going on. Then let me see how you act. You know what I'm saying? But everything been 100, though. I appreciate it, though. I appreciate it.
It's all love, dog.
So we get to Cleveland, and we was blessed to have the team that we had. You know what I'm saying? LeBron James, Kevin Love, and Kyrie. You know what I'm saying? So now you're assistant coach. You also player development as well. With Kyrie, and I know you have a good relationship with Kyrie, how did you help him and his game take off? Like, I'm a big Kyrie fan. He's talented. I like how he shoots the trade ball, his mid-range game, and how he finishes at the basket, right hand, left hand, whatever it is. But I'm a big Kyrie fan. But how did you go about helping him, make that next, jump from the player that he was just in Cleveland, where he was on a losing team, but he was still getting his numbers? So how did you help him become that better player?
Man, Pete, you remember that first year that I got to Cleveland? I remember I think you were coaching with Canton, right?
Yep.
And that was it was a challenge in itself because Kai, man, as you said, unbelievable talent. I mean, that dude is probably the most naturally gifted dude I've ever been around. And P, you've been with him. You've been to the gym and you play ones with Kai on a daily basis. So really, for me, when Mike Brown hired me, it was more about, hey, Phil, we want you to really come here and mentor this kid and help him as best you can. And the draw was, I just left LA with Kobe. I was with Kobe and the Lakers. Kyrie really respected Kobe. Kobe was a big fan of Kyrie, and Kobe played a huge part in helping from a pure standpoint of getting him to understand what the mindset needs to be. And when I got to Cleveland, I asked Kobe, look, if you don't mind mentoring this kid and helping, it would be tremendous, man. He's tremendously gifted. And the challenge for me was to help Kyrie just understand how important the work was. Look, man, you are supremely, like Pose, you built your career on being the hardest working dude on your team, so helping Kyrie to understand, Kai, if you're willing to put in the work and craft and really focus on, some finite things to help you with your ball handling, help you with your footwork, help you with your balance, man, you're gonna take your game to a whole nother area that you don't even think is possible. And once he bought into that, Pose, it was easy. It was easy because it wasn't anything that I was influencing him. It was really just that he bought into getting the work in. And
right.
Pete, that's one of the hardest battles, right? Just getting guys to understand that if you put the work in, man, you have a chance, especially with a skill set like that. If you're willing to work, man, it's over. And he bought into that, man, and understanding that, Kai, do you just want to be a good player on a losing team? Mm-hmm. Or do you want to really prove to people that you can be one of the best point guards in the game and play at a high level and help your team win? And then, obviously, Bron coming back to Cleveland was a big caveat to that. But before Bron came, Kyrie had set himself on that path to understand what it meant to work, to do a better job of taking care of his body, to trying to change his diet a little bit and just commit himself to the game on a full-time basis.
Like, I remember you talk about being a natural. Like, I remember, I'll be helping y'all out, and the stuff he is doing, you would get so mad, a good mad, because he would just do it so easy, and then he'll look at you with that little smirk, little smile, like, this all you want me to do? And then, like, you had to turn it up, on him, Philly, like, he was really doing this stuff too easy, like, and you said he like, I really got to challenge him, and that's like from ball handling drills to the finishes and stuff like that. Like, people don't understand, like, the stuff that they're seeing in the games, like, he really, like, he does it naturally, but he actually works on a lot of this stuff, and you helped him do it. Like, I seen you, the awkward layups off the same leg, same leg, same hand type stuff, or whatever. Like, he really works on it, and he put time in. Once you start to challenge, Kyrie with those drills and stuff, those workouts, like, I think that trust even got greater for him as well. And then on the middle side, somebody to talk to and help him, like, understand the game. What I'm saying? So I witnessed that. So, man, you get your kudos.
Man,
you got kudos with that, man.
Nah, man, Pose, that was a village, man. We all had to type in with Kyrie and the other guys that we had. I mean, you saw that process, man. Kyrie was a willing student, and I think he respected the work ethic that we brought, right? And the knowledge that you were able to share. I was able to share the knowledge that Bron shared with him, that T. Lou, Eric Drew. Our coaching staff was, a bunch of guys that had a wealth of knowledge, and some of the guys he played with. I think that's a combination, man. It was a big combination of him buying in and being willing to grow on his own as well.
Right.
Now, I can't go – we can't talk about the Cavs without talking about the 3-1 comeback. Like, we cannot. There's no way we can address that team and the history y'all made. It's unique for you, though, Phil, because you're coming back to Oakland, coming down 3-1. So you got the family, you got friends. What was that experience coming back for Game 5 and also coming back for Game 7? What was the mindset and the thoughts? Because it's different for you because you're the only one from there that's coming back for these games.
Well, there was a phrase, man, that was adapted in Cleveland. that was bestowed upon us by the great James Posey. Stay with it. Stay with it. Stay with it. Hey, listen. Listen. Pose used to, that was a mindset. That whole thing right there was the mindset. We got to stay with it. And I think, Pose being from Cleveland, there's a lot of storylines that go along with that. Pose is from Cleveland. I'm from the Bay. Bron's from Cleveland. So when we got down 3-1, I remember specifically the locker room was calm. We went back in the locker room. I remember it was calm. Cats wasn't in there. Nobody was frantic. And T. Lue plainly said, and I think Bron seconded, hey, if anybody don't believe that we can't win this game 5, do not get on the plane.
Yep.
Those were the exact words.
Yep.
Y'all don't believe that we go in there to handle our business, don't get on the plane.
Yep.
And I think that we just kind of took that one game at a time mentality because we really had to. There was nothing else to think about except for one game.
Right.
The next game is the most important game, and that's it. And I really felt like, man, there was not a doubt in my mind, not to say that we could make a win 7, but there was not a doubt in my mind that we couldn't go to Oakland and win game 5. That's where it started. And I think it was just a one-game approach. And for me, yeah, man, my family, everybody from the Bay was talking shit. And I hated that. You asked Pose, man. I blacked out one game. I bet you could ask Pose. Pose is one of the very few people that was a witness to. I blacked out, man. Okay, we was out there playing like some whats. And if anything, if anybody know me and Pose behind the bench, boy, we used to be going off. If they wasn't getting cussed out by me, they was getting cussed out by Pose. One way or another. But the mentality was just, we really had to stay with it, man. And that was something that kind of stuck with our team, of just taking that one game approach. And obviously, man, the historical game that Bron and Kyrie put on in game 5, that was a masterpiece. And then the freaking energy in Cleveland in game 6, boy, I don't think I've ever been in an arena that loud.
Right.
It was that should give me chills right now, how crazy game 6 was in Cleveland. It was unmatched energy. And then it was just like game 7, man, shit. Poe's been in many game 7 himself as a player. It was just whatever. Anything goes now. We here, so let's just go lay it out there for 48 minutes. And man, they just took that one game approach from game 5 on, and that was history, man.
Got you. Now, fast forward about 3 years later, you're back going to the Bay Area, but with a different team. You're with the Raptors, and you won 3 road games in the finals, which I don't believe that happens that often. But you were also led by Kawhi Leonard. How was it working with him on a day-to-day basis? Because we don't get to know a lot about Kawhi Leonard like that. Like, he doesn't talk a whole lot to the media, to the fans like that. Everything is kind of behind closed doors. How was it working with him for a whole season, getting to know him, getting to work on his game, and how was he receptive to your knowledge?
Man, Jay, that's one of the coolest cats I've ever been around, like straight up. And in the sense of
he's too cool.
Yeah, but the crazy thing about it, when you get around Kawhi and you get to know him, like behind closed doors, man, that dude is a comedian. Like people don't get to see that side of him. He's just like a normal dude. The only thing about Kawhi is he's just not enamored with all the fluff. He don't have an entourage. He not on social media. He not flashy. He just, hey man, he got his boy Jeremy, who's assistant coach with the Clippers. He got his uncle and his family, and he keep his circle tight. And he's just one of them dudes where I just want to hoop. I just want to get better and hoop. And man, I remember when I signed in Cleveland. I signed in Toronto. I was still in Cleveland, and I hadn't left to Toronto yet. I signed maybe 3 days prior. I woke up one morning and turned on the TV, And I'm seriously, as soon as I turned the TV on, ESPN was like breaking news. Kawhi Leonard gets traded to the Toronto Raptors. Bro, when I tell you I fell out of the bed, I fell out of the bed.
Right.
I was like, come on, man. Because my mindset was going to Toronto, I was a big fan of DeMar. And I was excited to be able to try to build a relationship with him and work with him and help him with his game. I was already locked into, all right, this is what I see with DeMar. And then here comes Kawhi. And I remember I let the dust settle. And then I reached out to Nick and said, hey, can you send me Kawhi's number? Because I didn't know Kawhi. I had never had any interactions with him except say what's up whenever we played. But I text Kawhi and said, man, I've always been a fan of your game and how you play. And I'm really looking forward to building a relationship and working with you on the floor. Man, that dude texted me back and was like, when you pulling up to San Diego? And that was it. I went to San Diego and we spent like a month and a half before we went to training camp working every day. And his thing that impressed me the most was when I first met Kawhi, he just said, look, coach, I'm very straightforward. I'm very honest. I'm all about the work. If I'm not doing something, you tell me, because I'm going to tell you if you're not doing something. And he said, I like the gym to be quiet. I don't like people. I don't like noise. I just want to get my work in. Man, when he said that to me, I was just like, let's go. That's right up my alley, and just a student of the game, man. Like a real student of the game and wants to be great. That's all he would always talk about. When I first got there, he was like, yo, we need to link up with Kobe. I want to link up with Kobe, man. When can we link up with him? He just wanted to soak up the knowledge, but one of the best dudes I've ever been around, straight up.
So speaking of that team, too, you also had a connection with Coach Nurse. Tell us a little bit about that.
Man, I played for Nick Nurse. That was one of the coaches I played for in Europe. I was in a situation where I played in Manchester, England, and that was probably one of the best situations I was in Europe. And people wouldn't think that England is a hotbed for European basketball. But the team that I was on, we were in what they call the Karate Cup. We had a high level team, man. We had a bunch of Americans on our team, and I think that season we went like 47-5 for the season. We were killing team. Nick is the same coach that he was back then when I played for that man 20 years ago, and it was kind of ironic just to have the opportunity. We won a championship together in Europe, and then to be able to come and coach with him and 20 years later and win a championship with him in Toronto. That was unbelievable, man. And that was the easy process for me from playing for him and coaching with him, because I knew what kind of coach he was as a former player. And then that was pretty easy for me to be able to, build that relationship with him on the backside.
Right. Get back to Cleveland, you talk about our time there, and I spoke of, Kyrie. Of course, LeBron James, the man, best player in the league, and continues to get better and better each year. And what is, I mean, I don't even know how to put this, but like, it's something about you that can help, like they trust you enough to help them elevate their game. And how did you win over Bron in that aspect? Because, hey, he already the best player, so he don't really got to listen to nobody, whatever. But he gets it done. But if you look at his skill set, it has continued to get better, like since then. So how did that happen? And what can you say about his work ethic and how you try to help his game elevate as well?
Man, Pose, I think you're one of two coaches in the NBA that played against Bron and coached him. You and T. Lue, right? And I think, and now Jay Kidd too. But I think, Pose, you saw him every day, and you've been around some great players. His work ethic, man, is second to none. I mean, P, like we would get there, Bron's in the weight room early. Bron is on the court before practice. He might stay on the court a little bit after practice. He might be in the weight room or getting massage or getting his treatment. His work ethic on and off the floor P is there. I don't think there's anybody that does it. You know, the Kobe's.
Hey, no, but it's. I mean, I mean to cut you off, but it's crazy that you say it because like people think like this man. You talk about the best player. Like he goes to bed early as hell.
Sleep.
He
He
goes
get
to
his
bed
rest.
early as hell because his day starts early as hell. Like he's already done worked out a couple of times before he actually got to the arena. You know what I'm saying? So
Right. You know, he posted something the other day about, I guess, an interview where he was saying you don't get tired. He's like, I don't get tired because I get my rest and I take care of my body. But P, I think the thing that impressed me about Bron the most is, again, I didn't know Bron before he came back to Cleveland. Just coached against him a few years. What impressed me is his coachability. He is coachable. Like, he is probably one of the most coachable guys that we've been around. And people that don't know him, the media, or he's a coach killer. But Coach, you can attest to, he is quite the opposite. He's a smart basketball player. His IQ is high, and he challenges us, right? He challenges us as coaches. He gonna challenge us as coaches to know our shit, right? And that's what the great players do. They're smart. They know the game. They know offense. They know defense. So we as a coach, we better have our shit together. And I for one, I appreciate that challenge because I just think that, you know, Bron and myself, man, we were just able to build a relationship through the work. Nothing else. I didn't know Bron, and I think once he saw how I worked and how all of us worked, I think the respect of just the work ethic is what leads the charge, and then just the understanding and knowledge. Okay, this coach know what he's talking about. Are these things helping me with my game? And to his credit, being the best player in the game, he remains coachable. He's willing to continue to put himself in uncomfortable situations to where he can continue to get better as a player. And that's what you see year in and year out, man. He's not satisfied, and he's always trying to push the envelope and add different things to his game, even at this point in his career.
So what was the first thing you helped him with?
Well, I remember the first day, Pose, when he signed and we got back to Cleveland. I sat down with him and I said, hey, Brian, man, look, you are who you are. You know, what as a coach can I help you get better with? What areas do you want to improve? So I wanted to hear from him. You know, I have my own ideas, but it's always good for players like that to hear, hey, what's his mindset? Where does he see? What does he want to improve on? And then we can start with that. And the main thing he said to me was my ball handling and footwork. You know, those two things were the two things that, you know, I like to work on everything. He said, but I want to get better with handling the basketball, and I want to get better with my footwork. And he said to me, he said, Coach, look, I'm very efficient. I don't like to waste time at work. I don't like to be on the court for a long time. Let's get our work in. Let's work hard, and I get off the court. And again, that information for me was everything that I needed to hear to where I can figure out a way to help him continue to improve as a player. And man, that was, what was that, 6 years ago? It's been a minute now, just to be able to, you know, continues to build a relationship with him on the floor.
Now, you also have the pleasure of being with Kobe Bryant outside of the season. Can you share your first experience? I heard a story that there was a time difference of y'all first session or something happened, like you thought supposed to be PM, he was AM. What exactly happened with that?
Yeah, man. Again, Pose, no, Jay, it was when I first got hired by the Lakers in 2011. Again, same story. I didn't know Kobe at all. And, you know, Mike Brown, again, hired me, and he said to me, he said, look, I don't care what you do, but you got to figure out a way to build a relationship with Kobe and make sure you help him with his work. And I was like, all right, coach, no problem. So, you know, I got hired. The lock, again, 2011 was another year of a lockout. And the lockout ended, and we went straight into practicing. So my first day on the job, you know, I didn't even bother Kobe. I just said, man, I got to work and figure out how to build a relationship with these players. And I just told players, hey, this is, you know, I need you guys to be on the court at a certain time. I didn't say anything to Kobe. And he literally, the first 3 days, he came out of the training room and would sit on a chair and watch me work with guys for about 3 minutes. He would sit there, he would watch, and then he would go back in the training room. He didn't say nothing to me. He just sat and watched. And maybe about 2 weeks later, you know, he texted me and was like, hey, man, I need you to meet me at the gym at 5:30. And this was like, it was like 2 o'clock in the afternoon. And so I was like, bet, let's go. Let's get it. I'll wait for that text. So,
Right.
man, I pull up to the gym at like 4:30 that day, thinking he was like that evening. I pull up to the gym 4:30. I'm there. I'm ready. Whatever. I'm thinking about what we're gonna do in workout. Blah blah blah. So 5:15 roll around. 5:30 roll around. 6 o'clock roll around. He not there, and I'm like, damn. This how you get down. All right.
Right.
So I go home. And next day I come back for practice. Practice is at like 10 o'clock. I show up usually around 7:30, trying to get ready. Man, I get to the practice facility. This man come barging out of the training room. Hey, mofo, it was yours. You just ain't gonna show up, nigga. He going in on me.
Right.
And so I'm like, hey, I'm like, bro, man, I was here, bro. You told me 5:30. I was here last night. I was here. He said, man, listen, I'm at 5:30 this morning.
Oh,
5:30.
hell
Hey,
no.
bro, listen. I looked at that man in the face like, damn, you really messed that one up, bro. And he was like, man, be here tomorrow on time. And I was
Right. Damn.
Yo, I didn't even put it together knowing who Kobe was. Dude that works out super early. I was so geeked. I just thought he meant like 5:30 in the evening because it was so early that afternoon.
Right.
And that man meant 5:30 in the morning, Jack. Like, don't play with my time. And then but after that, man, we were, he was again, he was gracious enough to listen or even, value what I thought. And I did the same thing with him. I said, man, how can I help you get better? Like what do you want? And he said the same. I mean, I want to continue to get better with my ball handling. And I'm always looking for different things with my footwork. And he's a footwork master. So
Yes, sir.
but
Yes, sir.
the thing about those dudes, man, Posey, Jay, the thing about those guys is they teach us so much. Like as coaches, we learn. Like I learned so much stuff from Kobe. I learned so much from Bron. I learned from Kyrie Irving. Any player we ever had. I learned. They teach us so much about ways that we can become better teachers and coaches. If we're really paying attention.
Now, what's the difference between developing and being with the superstar guys and the guys who are not superstars? They may be role players. They may be younger players. They may be guys on that trajectory. What's the main difference that you noticed?
I mean, for me personally, I don't treat them any different. I treat them all the same, man. They all got to get their work in. And I don't have something where I'm going to treat LeBron any different than I might treat, Taylor and Horton Tucker. They got to get their work in, and so it's all about helping guys get better. The workload might be different, Jay, in the sense that Bron, again, very efficient. His workload during the season might be a 20-minute clip, and he knows in 20 minutes I'm gonna get my work in, be really efficient. Whereas Taylor's workload might be 35 to 40 minutes, because he's not playing much. So those are the only real differences. And then, obviously certain players have to work on certain things. But in terms of how I've always approached working with players, my approach is the same. It's business, it's work. Let's get the work in. I'm not gonna baby you. I'm not gonna treat you any different. This is all about you getting better as a player.
So you had a conversation. I mean, you hear it. You hear about the Kobe Bryants, the comparisons, LeBron James, and now Kawhi and stuff like that. What sort of separates each of those players just from each other at the end of the day? But what I'm saying, Brian, his list goes on, accolades and things like that, and then his ability to reach the finals. And then of course you talk about Kobe Bryant, Mamba mentality, what I'm saying, and that's just rub and touch everybody the right way, what I'm saying. And then you have Kawhi, what I'm saying, the stone cold killer, but he's the quiet assassin. You know what I'm saying? So what goes with that?
Pose, look, there's a lot of differences, but I've always told people that I think focusing on differences is probably the wrong thing. I've honed in on what's the similarities and as to what's the common denominator as to why these guys have all been so successful. People always want to go, nah, man. I'm looking at the common denominator. They all have it. And so that common denominator has been, one, their work ethic is insane. That's the first thing. Their work ethic is insane. Two, the basketball IQs are off the charts in how they read the game and study the game from an individual to a team, offense to defense. Man, Coach Bowles, man, we be in walkthroughs and Brian already telling us what the plays are before we listen. You trying to put the players on the court. You go over here, he Post, we got it. I'm like, that part is at a high level. And then the last piece is just how they take care of their bodies.
Mm-hmm.
How they take care of their bodies. All three of those dudes, and so many others, man. But just those are the guys I've had a chance to work with. All of those things are at the highest level that you can think of.
Mm-hmm. It's funny, man, because in Cleveland with Brian, I'm doing my little scout report. I'm prepared and everything. I got everything ready. It was almost disrespectful, almost to the fact, and it's because it's Brian IQ. This man, he's sitting like this under the basket. He's just biting on this little nail or whatever. And like you said, he over there, you're gonna do this, you're gonna come around this and set the screen, fair screen, be ready for this. Look, he's telling you what the offense gonna do, and then he's telling us what we gonna do defensively. Like, make sure the bottom guy right there, make sure you're there. And all this, he just like this. Right there talking. I'm like, damn, Brian. Okay. But I think that also, if guys, that never played with them, like that right there, let alone we should have showed like how special he is. And I'm talking about like this is every shooter on every team. He knows their plays and he can just walk you through them and everything. So I think just from the teammates, they was like, shit. He's smart, they probably had to do a better job of preparing for games because he could quiz them and test them like he was testing us. Like you said, you had to be on your P's and Q's because you ain't want to look crazy. With Brian asked you a question, not having an answer. So,
man, 100%. That's what I really learned about a lot of these great players, man. They study the game as much as we do as coaches, and it's one of those things where one, you got to be comfortable. You said, Paul, you did your homework, you were ready. So it was just like, and not be intimidated by that, right?
Yeah.
Not be intimidated by it, but just understand what kind of basketball IQs that you're working with, man. And again, that to me is the ultimate challenge because it pushes us as coaches to make sure that we're on top of our game.
I know y'all have busy season. I'm saying last year was a challenge with the bubble. How was that? How was y'all able to maintain focus and manage to win a championship through the bubble?
Man, Pose, I think a lot of that goes back to, one, Frank Vogel did a great job. Frank was great in his preparation. Starts with him. Second part was I think the Laker organization did a great job of just making sure that we had, as a team, things that we need, food, and the NBA did a great job with preparing the bubble. Like a lot of people talk about the bubble, man. We had everything we needed in there. You had food 24 hours. You had restaurants. You could go fishing. You could do a little bit of bowling at a movie theater. You can go golf. So we had all these different things that we could do. But I think that the main thing was, look, Bron and Rondo set the table. And AD obviously too, but the mindset of what are we here for? We're here. What we coming into this bubble for, man? We come in this bubble to compete for the championship, and I think the whole team really locked into that. They were locked in, man. They were locked in, and they took advantage of just what we were doing there instead of trying to find excuses or they locked into playing basketball, and that was very evident in how they performed.
And you just spoke about AD. You know what I'm saying? How was his transition? Oh, you know what I'm saying, from New Orleans, getting to the Lakers. Now you playing with Bron. You know, that was in the midst of things, the ultimate goal to get to LA and play with Bron. How do you think Bron has affected, you know, AD with his growth and, you know what I'm saying, being the best player he could be?
Oh man, tremendously. I see both, like, the impact they've had on each other. Pose has been tremendous. You know, I think AD pushes Bron just as much as Bron pushes AD, and the respect level that they have for each other, man, is at a really, really high level of just respecting each other's skill set, respecting what they bring to the game, and then just, you know, respecting each other's space as superstars, right? You can tell, man, that they genuinely like each other, to get along on and off the floor, but it was seamless. Man, AD came in and fit right in, and man, that dude's a unicorn, man. He is a
Unicorn,
unicorn.
unibrow, it all goes together.
Man. Pose. I mean, people, you know, no disrespect to any of these other dudes in the league, but when AD really understands who he is as a player and what his skill set, what his true skill set is, he's the best player in the league, hands down. Just because of his size, his ability to play inside, outside, he can handle the ball, he dominates on defense. He's a unicorn, bro. Like,
so do you think, like, right now with Bron being on the team and Bron still playing at a high level, do you think he's sort of just waiting, or or is it time for him to take that lead and show why he's one of the top players as well?
well, I don't think Bron's waiting. Bron allows AD to be. I mean, I don't think AD is waiting, but Bron definitely wants him to be who he is.
Right.
Hey, man, be who you are, bro. Do what you got to do. We gonna, you know, we here for it. And you know, he's been real supportive with him. I just think that I think AD is continuing to check the boxes as a player and continuing to grow. And you know, just the maturation, right? Maturing, and then feeling comfortable in his own skin. And then you see more of that. You see more of that killer coming out, because when he's in kill mode,
Right.
man,
It's a problem.
Jesus, yeah,
It's a problem.
it's a real problem, bro. Like, it's a real problem.
Now, before I ask my next question, I have to actually tweet a compliment towards you, Phil. This was actually the day the trade went down. He was at the press conference. There was a tweet by @DrewUnga, said Phil Handy is the Lakers' second best acquisition of this summer. And this was July 14, 2019. So if AD is all those great things you mentioned, you right there with him, man. You right there with him.
Jay, man, I just do my job, man. That's it. Do my job, stay in my lane. That's it, man.
Fair enough. Now, with that being said, how difficult is your job to develop younger players while you're competing for a championship? Because you know how it is. It seems like a lot of the championship teams are older guys, the rotation's tight, and the young guys kind of get lost in the shuffle at times. How difficult is it, or how challenging is it to develop a lot of the younger guys and make sure they're ready to play, even though their minutes may be 5 minutes one game, 20 minutes the next? What's the challenges with that?
You know, I mean, I've been fortunate. The teams Jay, me and Pose were on in Cleveland, we didn't really have too many young guys. You know, Jetty Osman, Kay Felders. You know, we had young guys that worked. You know, Matthew Dellavedova. So we had some young guys that really understood the game a little bit. You know, from even though they were young, you know, Jetty had been playing professional basketball overseas. Kay Felder went to college for 4 years. Matthew Dellavedova went to college for 4 years, and they played in long stretches in NCAA tournaments. So their development it wasn't very difficult at all. And it's pretty much similar here with the Lakers. You know, Taylor Horton Tucker is really one of our only young players. You know, Kyle Kuzma's still fairly young, but man, our development is pretty consistent, Jay, with our vets and the young guys. So it's really, you know, not too much different. Everybody works every day. You know, that is the culture that we have. That's the culture that we had in Cleveland. It's the culture that we have in LA. Everybody works before and after practice at some point. And so It's not hard. It's just all about as coaches, as we as coaches are a village, and we all got to put our hands in, right, and work with guys. We all have different ways of working. Like I used to learn a ton of stuff from Pose, some of the workouts he does with guys, and just learning and helping each other. And so that's the village part of how we approach, how we work with our players on a daily basis. So, development of younger players is not difficult. It's just really about just being consistent, right? Consistent with them on a daily basis to make sure that they get to work, to make sure that they're understanding through film. Film is crucial to helping the young guys study film, whether it be on them or the guys in front of them playing. So there's a combination of things that we do with these guys to continue to help them, get better on a daily basis.
Now, not only are you good with the pros as well, but you work with younger players that's not even reached, that's still working their way up, trying to get to elite pro level as well. Tell us a little bit about that. I know you got an app out as well. Tell us about that, and how do you help those young kids sort of set the foundation to reach for them to reach the elite level as well? Because you work with everybody, not just the pros, and like I said, but you work with kids that probably just picked up a basketball last week. You develop them, you work with them as well. Nah, seriously, I see you, man. We had these conversations as well, but you do that on top of your job as an assistant coach and develop these players that get paid. Tell me your joy in that, and how you manage that.
That's just pure love, Post. I love the game, man. Like, P, when I started this, 94 Feet a Game is the name of the company, and the app is, called the 94 Feet a Game app. But I started working with kids back in 2003, back in 1999. I was working with kids. I wasn't working with pro athletes. I had a couple pro athletes, but I was working with high school kids, middle school kids, boys and girls. And just my love for the game was I wanted to help these young athletes build themselves into better young people. It wasn't even, basketball is a small part of it, right? But just help them gain some confidence, help them gain some work ethic, help them gain some character in terms of just how to be a better teenager. What's your work ethic? What's your accountability? That's where it all started for me with the youth. And when I got hired on as an NBA coach, my first few years, I had to take a step away from that. And I forgot. I really did, because I was so embedded in, okay, I got to do my job. Make sure my job, take care of my responsibilities. And, man, at some point, I got to Cleveland, my later years in Cleveland, probably about year 4. I found my way back to working with kids again in my free time, in the off season when I could, whenever I had a chance. And, man, I forgot how much I loved it. I forgot how much that the kids played a part in inspiring me on a daily basis, and seeing them grow and seeing them get better, helping kids get scholarships. And so once I did that, I was like, I'm never again going away from working with kids. I don't care what my job is. I don't care if I become a head coach. I'm always going to put some time into the kids to help them get better. And anybody for that matter, anybody in the basketball community, that's why I started the app Post, was to be able to share my knowledge. We use the phrase anywhere, anytime. I want to be able to share this knowledge that I've been able to accrue for many years of coaches I played for, the great players I've been able to coach with. And why not share that knowledge? Why not impart that knowledge on the basketball community to where other coaches can learn, other players can learn, and leave something positive in the basketball community, man. And so that's my pure love for the game, P. Just being able to give back and share as much as them, because at the end of the day, Pose, if I pass away tomorrow, knock on wood, I can't take this knowledge with me, right?
Right.
It doesn't do anything. So it's just the same as money for me. It's the same as I pass away. Material things I can't keep. This knowledge that I have, God has blessed me with it. So why not share it and help other people, do something good with it as well.
Now, what are your thoughts on how skill training has become with social media? Because it seems like every year we see somebody new doing it, and the qualifications aren't there, and the drills that they're putting them through don't relate to the NBA game or basketball in general. What are your thoughts on the newfound rise of coaches and the whole industry in general? I have my thoughts. I'm curious to hear your thoughts.
Well, this is where the Oakland side of the field comes out with that bullshit. Like, it's a lot of bullshit out there. And look, to this point, man, I have love for all these trainers out there that are working and grinding, right? They're trying to do something positive. Man, me and Pose we used to watch videos. Pose would send me videos of trainers. Hey, Philly, you gonna do this shit tomorrow? Well, always got. Come on, bro. So, Pose know exactly what I'm talking about. He used to send me these videos, like, bro. The training industry is so blown out of proportion because not everybody can be a trainer. And this is also part of the motivation of why I've started the app, is to help people understand what real training looks like. I don't believe in gimmicks. I don't believe in anything that does not apply to the game of basketball, either by use or function. So I'm always trying to encourage trainers, listen, man, the best players in the world, they train at a high level, but there's a lot of simplicity to what they do, right? Yes, you can work on your ball handling. Yes, you can get better with your footwork. But at the end of the day, if they're not functional and applicable to the game of basketball, then you shouldn't be doing it. Simple. So for all the trainers out there that are, the social media piece, look, man, I think a lot of that is for glitz and glam, right? And I do some of the social media stuff, again, just to, share content and help people kind of see the kind of work that we do on a daily basis to help navigate away from some of the bullshit that's out there. I really try to use it in a positive sense. But no, man, the training industry is, people see it and they think it's a glamorous industry. It's not. Most people don't know how much time we put in as coaches on the computer, watching film. Players show up, they come to practice, they get in the weight room, and then they go home. Coaches, we're there long before, and most times we're there long after.
Yeah.
And so, people think that the training and the coaching world is just a glamorous, or you can make a lot of money, but they don't really see the work that goes into it. And yeah, we work, but it's work that we love, right? We love doing this shit, so it's not like we got a real job, but we'll put as many hours in on it as we need to because it's what we love to do, and so you're not going to shortchange it. The training industry is social media, man, gives everybody the platform to talk. And you know how I feel about that, P. Some people shouldn't be talking.
That's real.
Come on, man. When you don't have Brian, them, man, throwing cones and dodging and doing, dribbling with their toes, when you gonna have Brian doing that? Make sure you give me some footage. I want to see Brian doing this. Hey,
you said dribbling. You said dribbling with his toes.
Dribbling with his toes. You know what I'm saying? Like, man.
Oh, come on,
like I see the stuff, man. Like I'm laughing too. And my thing is, I'm like, yo, the parents can't be in the gym watching this and think most of this stuff is like really helping their kid get better, and that they paying for it. That's what I'm like. Come on, man. I mean, you don't got to be a basketball guru or genius or nothing like that to know some of this stuff not really adding up. You know what I mean? And it don't even make sense. And so the parents, come on, man.
So you're not gonna send your son? You're not gonna send your son to one of them trainers, dog?
I'm sending my son to you. It's a couple of people. That's the only two people I trust right now. So outside that, everybody ain't putting their hands on him. You see Jace, man, come man. Hey, I ain't about to play that. Man, we about to leave. I'm gonna smack the dude in the back of his head or something. But man, you crazy. Nah. So as I see, I'm willing to give people a try. You know what I'm saying? I understand. Make sure Jake's comfortable as well. But as soon as I see that, nah, we out of here.
You're a fool, P. You're a fool, dog.
Nah. But I know you had a long day, man. I appreciate your time. But I can't let you get out of here. I always end a segment with this. I call it free game. All right. I just want you to share a free game. It doesn't have to be sports related, just free game that you could give the people out here that's going to see this and that could possibly just help them in life.
Man, Pose, I started this brand a few years ago called Be Your Own GOAT. And I think
Be Your Own GOAT.
Be your own GOAT, man. I don't think people really understand what that means. And it's not from a place of arrogance. it's really from a place of trying to help people understand that all of us, I don't care what profession we're in, what walk of life we're in, we all have a certain level of greatness that we can try to strive for every day, right? If you're a doctor, if you're a lawyer, if you're a painter, if you're a photographer, I don't care what it is. Why not have a mindset of trying to be the greatest version of that you can be every day? Be your own GOAT. Like everybody looks at, the Michael Jordans or the Kobe's or the Michael Jacksons, and they look at all these people and say, they're inspiring me. Okay, well, let those people inspire you to be great in whatever you're doing, right? Don't settle for mediocrity. Man, every day, all of us have the ability to wake up and say, man, I'm going to be great today. I'm going to push myself to be great today. And really, for me, man, I live by that. I try to live by it. I think if people took more of that mindset of striving for their own inner greatness, they would have more happiness, right, in what they're doing on the earth. So that's my free game, man. Everybody should be striving to be their own GOAT.
Y'all had a free game from my man Phil Handy, man. Like I said, I appreciate your time. It's always much love, much respect. I know you're busy. We gonna chop it up like we normally do. We gonna get together as well. But man, good luck with the rest of the season. I know y'all did the defending champs, so this long season ahead. Stay healthy, most importantly. And man, I appreciate you.
Man, love. Man, I appreciate you guys, man. This has been a blessing to be on here with you. All love, Pete.
All right. Later.